Shabbat Shalom from under the dome. Welcome back to another Jeremiah study series. We're going to be concluding this week, starting in chapter 45 and going into 52. So kick back, bring out your Bibles, and let's get ready to jump in. But first, as always, let's do a prayer. Father Abba, we love you. We thank you for this opportunity to join together in your word and fellowship with you. We pray that while we read, you lead us and guide us. Show us what you want us to see. And of course, narrate our path and be a light to our feet. We ask all these things in Yeshua's name. Amen. So how's it going in Yahoo's world?
It's going pretty good. Can't complain.
So you got your old wood splitter going, so
yep,
that's a good
some
thing.
Stuff done this week, so yeah.
Yep,
family's visiting.
Yep, Mama Tina's in.
Kids got stuff to do, people to play with.
Yep, and we got a puppy from Miss Kaylee, so that's been exciting. First night last night.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have an exciting time.
Well, anyways, without further ado, I think I'm going to jump into some Jeremiah. Again, everybody open your Bibles, Jeremiah chapter 45, or you can obviously, read along with the screen share here. Let's see here. Yep, 2009. Message to Baruch. Jeremiah chapter 45, verse 1. The word that Yirmiyahu the prophet spoke to Baruch, son of Neriah, when he had written these words in a book from the mouth of Yirmiyahu, in the 4th year of Yahoiakim, son of Yoshayahu, sovereign of Yehuda, saying, Thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel, concerning you, Baruch. You have said, Woe to me now, for Yahuwah has added grief to my pain. I have been wearied with my sighing, and I have found no rest. Say this to him, Thus said Yahuwah. See, what I have built, I am breaking down, and what I have planted, I am plucking up. That is, the entire land. And do you seek great matters for yourself? Do not seek them, for look, I am bringing evil on all flesh, declares Yahuwah. But I shall give your life to you as a prize in all places, wherever you go. And that's it for chapter 45. I think I'm just going to continue on to 46 here before we break. And
wow, just 5 verses. That was a long one.
Yeah, I ran out of breath. Yep, more judgment. I still see a silver lining away here. The word of Yahuwah, which came to Yirmiyahu the prophet, concerning the nations. For Mitzrayim, Egypt, concerning the army of Pharaoh, Necho, sovereign of Mitzrayim, which was by the river Euphrates, and Carchemish, in which Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, had stricken in the 4th year of Yahoiakim, son of Yashayahu, sovereign of Yehuda. Prepare the large and the small shield, and draw near to battle. Harness the horses, and mount up, you horsemen. Stand with helmets, polish the spears, put on the armor. Why do I see them afraid, turned back, and their fighters are beaten down? And they have fled in haste, and did not look back, for fear was all around, declares Yahuwah. Do not let the swift flee away, nor the mighty man escape. They shall stumble and fall toward the north, by the river Euphrates. Who is this rising like a flood, whose waters surge about like the rivers? Mitzrayim rises like a flood, and its waters surge about like the rivers. And he says, Let me rise and cover the earth. Let me destroy the city and its inhabitants. Go up, O horses, and rage, O chariots, and let the mighty men go forth, Cush and Put, who handle the shield, and Lud, who handle and bend the bow. Jeremiah 46, verse 10. For this is the day of the Master Yahuwah of hosts, a day of vengeance, to revenge himself on his adversaries, and the sword shall devour, and be satisfied, and made drunk with their blood. For the master Yahuwah of hosts has a slaughtering in the land of the north by the great Euphrates. Go up to Gilad, and take balm, O maiden, the daughter of Mitzrayim. In vain you have used many remedies. There's no healing for you. Nations have heard of your shame, and your cry has filled the land. For the mighty has stumbled against the mighty. They have both fallen together. The word which Yahuwah spoke to Yirmiyahu the prophet about the coming of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, to strike the land of Mitzrayim. Declare in Mitzrayim, and let it be heard in Migdol, and let it be heard in Noph and Taphanes. Say, stand fast and be prepared, for a sword shall devour all around you. 46, verse 15. Why were your strong ones swept away? They did not stand because Yahuwah drove them away. He made many stumble. Indeed, they fell over each other and said, Arise, let us go back to our own people, into the land of our birth, away from the oppressing sword. There they cried, Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitzrayim, is but a noise. He has let the appointed time pass by. As I live, declares the sovereign, whose name is Yahuwah of hosts, for his Tabor is among the mountains, and his Carmel by the sea, he shall come. O you daughter dwelling in Mitzrayim, prepare yourself to go in exile, for Noph shall become a waste and a ruin, and be burned without inhabitant. Jeremiah 46, verse 20. Mitzrayim is like a very pretty heifer, but destruction comes. It comes from the north. Her hired ones too, in her midst, are like fattened calves, for they too shall turn. They shall flee away together. They shall not stand, for the day of their calamity has come upon them, the time of their punishment. Its sound moves along like a serpent, for they move on like an army, and come against her with axes, like woodcutters. They shall cut down her forest, declares Yahuwah, for it is not searched, because they are more numerous than locusts, and without number. The daughter of Mitzrayim shall be put to shame. She shall be given into the hand of the people of the north. Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, has said, See, I am bringing punishment on Ammon of No, and on Pharaoh, and on Mitzrayim, and on their mighty ones, and on their sovereigns, and on Pharaoh, and on those trusting in him. And I shall give them into the hand of those who seek their lives, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and into the hand of his servants. And afterward it shall be inhabited as in the days of old, declares Yahuwah. But as for you, do not fear, O my servant Jacob, and do not be discouraged, O Yisrael. For look, I am saving you from afar, and your descendants from the land of their captivity. And Jacob shall return, and shall have rest, and be at ease, with no one disturbing. Do not fear, O Jacob, my servant, declares Yahuwah, for I am with you. Though I make a complete end of all the nations to which I have driven you, yet I do not make a complete end of you. But I shall reprove you in right ruling, and by no means leave you unpunished. Wow. I see towards the end of 46 end of 46, 26, 27 here. It's not talking about, what was going on in the past, but what is to come. He's going to complete, bring back the nations which he's driven us and not make a complete end of us. Not saying we're not going to get punished and refined along the way. And I believe this is talking about the great Exodus, but that's kind of where my mind lands at here. What do you think, Deezer?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing whenever you're reading it. And I was trying to remember from the last time we were in Jeremiah, they had an army that was attacking them, and they made Jeremiah go inquire to God, and then they sent people down to Egypt too. And then they got a call from Egypt that said, we're sending some guys up. And so the army backed off and they were all celebrating. And then God turned Egypt back around and turned the attacking army back around to reattack. And so, yeah, didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
And then, apparently Egypt is getting taken out here too.
A lot of lament and punishment, jail sentences, a lot going on,
Yeah.
I think even through it all, there's some silver lining here.
Yeah, that's facts. They're looking at the right now, and he's like, no, just let me do it.
Which is not easy, and especially, when you're being pressed, and, there's different layers.
When you're an impatient person, that's the hardest thing to do.
Yes.
is wait.
Scroll back up here. I was thinking I was going to say something else, but I don't remember on what. My brain.
Yeah, maybe I'm just talking about myself. I don't know.
Oh no, I think we all could, or maybe all should relate. This just totally reminds me of the great and terrible day of Yahweh when he comes back to, purge, but also take those who are, refined underneath his wing. And I believe there's be some of those left of us, because I don't think I'm going to be refined enough. I see myself
and
going
Jacob
through
shall return and shall have rest and be at ease with no one disturbing. Like when has that happened?
Yeah, right. Make sure I'm not missing out any comments over here.
Like I said, I haven't read Kings Chronicles and Samuel yet, but it seems like every other time they're at war with somebody or in captivity already.
Well, let's see what unfolds on these final chapters here. I bet it doesn't get pretty for a minute. Probably some more judgment, because there's going to be lots of that.
I think you're probably right. I bet there's. Oh, yep. Here we go. Judgment of the Philistines.
Okay. Jeremiah 47, verse 1. I'm going to get a sip. Excuse me. Jeremiah chapter 47, verse 1. The word of Yah that came to Yirmiyahu, the prophet, concerning the Philistines, before Pharaoh struck Gaza. Thus said Yah, see, waters are rising out of the north, and shall be an overflowing flood, and they shall overflow the land, and all that is in it, the city, and those who dwell within, and men shall cry, and the inhabitants of the land shall wail. At the noise of the stamping hooves of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, at the rumbling of his wheels, the fathers shall not look to their children because of weakness of hands, because of the day that shall come to ravage all the Philistines, to cut off from Zor and Zidon every helper that survives. For Yah is ravaging the Philistines, the remnant of the Isle of Caphtor. Jeremiah 47, verse 5. Oh, another short chapter. Baldness shall come upon Gaza. Ashkelon shall be cut off with the remnant of their valley. Till when would you cut yourself? O you sword of Yahuwah, how long till you rest? Put yourself up into your sheath. Rest and be still. How shall it rest when Yahuwah has given it a command against Ashkelon and against the seashore? There he has appointed it. Oof. You're saying, gosh, y'all, when are you going to put away your sword? Put it away. Be still. It's going to be some fierce judgment. I mentioned this before, the first time Yeshua came, they were expecting a lion and got a lamb. And I think the next time, a lot of people are going to be expecting a lion and expecting a lamb and get a lion. And I think this speaks of that right here. Oof.
Yeah.
Judgment on Moab. Concerning Moab, this is Jeremiah chapter 48, verse 1. Concerning Moab, this is what Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, said: Woe to Nebo, for it is ravaged. Kiryathaim, or Kiryathaim is put to shame, captured. The high stronghold is put to shame and broken down. There is praise for Moab no longer. In Heshbon, they have devised evil against her. Come and let us cut it off as a nation. O madman, you are also cut off. A sword goes after you. Listen, an outcry from Horonaim, ravaging in great destruction. Moab shall be destroyed. Her little ones shall cry out. For on the ascent to Luhith they go up weeping bitterly. For in the descent of Horonaim the enemies shall hear a cry of destruction. Jeremiah 48, verse 6. Flee, deliver your own lives, and be like a bush in the wilderness. For because you have trusted in your works and your treasures, you shall be captured. For Chemosh shall go forth into exile, his priest and his heads together. And a ravager shall come into every city, no one escapes. And the valley shall perish, and the plain be destroyed, as Yahuwah has spoken. Give wings to Moab, for she has to flee away, and her cities become a ruin, with no one to dwell in them. Cursed is he who is slack in doing the work of Yahuwah, and cursed is he who withholds his sword from blood. Moab has been at ease from his youth, and he has settled on his dregs, and has not been emptied from vessel to vessel, nor has he gone into exile. Therefore his flavor has stayed in him, and his fragrance is unchanged. Therefore see, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, when I shall send him tilters, who shall tilt him over, and empty his vessels, and break the bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed because of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, their refuge. Jeremiah 48:14. Get another sip. How do you say, we are mighty and strong men for battle? Moab is ravaged, and her cities have been entered, and her chosen young men have gone down to the slaughter, declares the sovereign, whose name is Yahuwah of hosts. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hurries fast. Lament for him, all you who are around him, and all you who know his name. Say, how the strong scepter has been broken, the staff of splendor. Come down from your esteem, and sit in thirst, O inhabitant, daughter of Dibon. For the ravager of Moab shall come against you. He shall destroy your strongholds. Jeremiah 48:19. Stand by the way and watch, O inhabitant of Aroer. Ask him who flees and her who escapes. Say, what has been done? Moab has been put to shame, for it has been broken down. Howl and cry. Let it be heard in Arnon that Moab is ravaged. And judgment has come on the plain country, on Holland, on Yatzah, and on Mophathoth, and on Dibon and Nebo, and on Beth Diblathaim, and on Kiriathaim, and on Beth Gamul, and on Beth Meon, and on Kerioth, and on Batra, and on all the cities of the land of Moab, far or near. The horn of Moab has been cut off, and his arm has been broken, declares Yahuwah. Jeremiah 48, verse 26. Make him drunk, because he has made himself great against Yahuwah. Moab shall splash in his vomit, and he shall also be in mockery. And was not Yisrael a mockery to you? Was he found among thieves? For whenever you speak of him, you shake your head. O inhabitants of Moab, leave the cities and dwell in the rock, and be like the dove making a nest in the sides of the cave's mouth. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud, of his loftiness and arrogance and pride, and of the haughtiness of his heart. I know his wrath, declares Yah, and his boastings are untrue, and his deeds are false. Jeremiah 48:31. Therefore I wail for Moab, and cry out for all Moab. I mourn for the men of Kirhares. O vine of Sibmah, I weep for you with the weeping of Yazer. Your branches have passed over the sea. They have come to the sea of Yazer. The ravager has fallen on your summer fruit and your grape harvest. Joy and gladness have been taken away from the orchard and from the land of Moab, and I have made wine to cease from the winepress. No one treads with shouting. The shouting is no shouting. From the outcry of Heshbon unto Elilah, unto Yahatz, they shall raise their voice from Zor to Horonaim, like a 3-year-old heifer, for even the waters of Nimrim are dried up. Sounds an awful lot like Revelations in so many ways. And I shall make an end in Moab to him who offers in the high places and burns incense to his mighty ones, declares Yah. So my heart sounds for Moab like flutes, and my heart sounds for men of Kirhares like flutes. Therefore the wealth they made shall be gone. For every head is bald, and every beard clipped, cuts on all the hands, and sackcloth on the loins. And on all the housetops of Moab, and in its streets, it is all lamentation. For I have broken Moab like a vessel, in which no one delights, declares Yahweh. How she has been broken down, they show well. How has Moab turned her back with shame? So Moab shall be a mockery and a horror to all those about her. For thus said Yah, see, he soars like an eagle. He shall spread his wings over Moab. Kerioth shall be captured, and the strongholds seized. And the heart of the mighty men in Moab on that day shall be like the heart of a woman in labor. This is Jeremiah 48, verse 42. And Moab shall be destroyed as a people, because he has made himself great against Yah. Fear in the pit and the snare upon you, O inhabitant of Moab, declares Yah. He who flees from the fear falls into the pit, and he who gets out of the pit is caught in the snare. For I am bringing upon Moab the year of their punishment, declares Yahuwah. Those who fled stood powerless under the shadow of Heshbon, but a fire shall come out of Heshbon, and a flame from the midst of Sihon, and consume the brow of Moab, and the crown of the head of the sons of uproar. Woe to you, O Moab! The people of Chemosh have perished, for your sons have been taken into exile, and your daughters into exile. But I shall turn back the captivity of Moab in the latter days, declares Yahuwah. Thus far is the judgment of Moab. I was wondering when we first started reading who Moab was, but in the beginning it described them. I was going to go back and check that out. Was it the ones that was mocked Israel, something like that? Where was that at?
I think, don't quote me on this, that the Moabites came from Lot and his 2 daughters.
Okay.
Because I
skipped over
think
it.
I think Rahab was one of the Moabites that was in Jericho. And then, yeah, I think that's how that went down.
Gotcha. Maybe I'm just where was that? Gosh. I need to take
But yeah,
notes
I think
while
it's
I'm in.
interesting that they're even weeping for their enemies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Ruth was a Moabite, Timothy says.
Oh, gotcha. Thanks, Timothy.
I guess I could Google it real quick.
Gosh, we just read it. I just read it, and I thought it was at the beginning of the chapter. Not that big a deal. Maybe I was thinking of the Philistines. No.
Okay, yeah. So Lot's eldest daughter gave him a son, called him Moab, and the younger daughter bore a son and became the Ammonites.
Okay. Was the son's name Ammon? Just curious.
Maybe.
Yep. Definitely got more questions than answers. Man, I'm gonna be cursed if I don't take up the sword, man. I have to be a fighter. I have to work through this fight or flight, though.
I think that, I mean, I think that's just like the people, because I think you'd still have to have the war rules in there.
Definitely. I was just kind of kidding.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay, well, moving on. Let's jump right into 49. Judgment on Ammon. Interesting. Concerning the
Here we go.
Ammonites.
Yeah.
Everything works out. Concerning the Ammonites. Jeremiah 49:1. Thus said Yahuwah, has Yisrael no sons? Has he no heir? Why has Malcolm taken possession of Gad, and his people dwell in its cities? Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yah, when I shall sound a battle cry in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a
Can I
heap.
stop you real quick?
Of course.
Every time I hear, therefore, see, the days are coming, I hear in my brain, just wait till your father gets home.
Well, that's good. I will never be able to not hear that now. Let's see here. Let's start over at chapter or verse 2. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yah, when I shall sound a battle cry in Rabbah of the Ammonites, and it shall be a heap, a wasteland, and her villages shall be burned with fire. Then Yisrael shall dispossess those who dispossessed him, declares Yah. Howl, O Heshbon, for Ai is ravaged. Cry, daughters of Rabbah. Gird on sackcloth, lament, and diligently search by the walls, for Malcolm shall go into exile with his priest and his heads. Why do you boast in the valleys, your flowing valley, O backsliding daughter who is trusting in her treasures, saying, excuse me, who would come against me? See, I am bringing fear upon you, from all those around you, declares the Master Yahuwah of hosts. And you shall be driven, and you shall be driven out, each one straight ahead, with no one to bring home the wanderer. And after this I turn back the captivity of the children of Ammon, declares Yah. Jeremiah 49, verse 7. Concerning Edom, thus said Yah of hosts, is there no more wisdom in Teman? Has counsel been lost to those with understanding? Has their wisdom vanished? Flee, turn back, dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Dedan, for I shall bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I shall punish him. If grape gatherers came to you, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? Even thieves by night would destroy only until they had enough. But as for me, I shall make Esau bare. I shall uncover his hiding places, so that he is unable to conceal himself. His seed is ravaged, his brothers and his neighbors, and he is no more. Leave your fatherless children. Let me, capital M, keep them alive, and let your widows trust in me. Jeremiah 49, verse 12. For thus said Yah, see, those whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have certainly drunk. And are you the one to go unpunished? You shall not go unpunished, but certainly drink of it. For I have sworn by myself, declares Yahuwah, that Batra is to become a ruin, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all its cities become everlasting waste. I have heard a report from Yah, and an envoy has been sent to the nations. Gather together, come against her, and rise up to battle. For look, I shall make you small among nations, despised among men. The dread for you, the pride of your heart, has deceived you. O you who dwell in the clefts of the rock, holding the height of the hill. Though you make your nest as high as the eagle, from there I bring you down, declares the Master. Jeremiah 49, verse 17. And Edom shall be a run. Everyone who passes by it is astonished and whistles at all its plagues. Interesting. I'm going to have to revisit that. Whistles at its plagues. 49:17. Is in the overthrow of Sodom and Amorah and their neighboring cities, declares Yah. No one shall dwell there, nor would a son of man sojourn in it. See, he comes up like a lion from the yard and jungle against the home of the strong. But in an instant I shall make him run away from her. And who is in the chosen one to appoint over her? For who is like me, and who summons me, and who is that shepherd who stands before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of Yah, which he has counseled concerning Edom, and the purposes he has purposed concerning the inhabitants of Teman. The least of the flock shall drag them away. He shall make their pasture a waste before them. Jeremiah 49:21. The earth shall be shaken at the noise of their fall. There is an outcry. Its noise is heard at the sea of reeds. See, like an eagle, he
I think we lost you there. Maybe his mic got unplugged.
I'm back now. I think I'm having some connection difficulties here.
Oh, okay. There he is.
Yeah,
Welcome back, sir.
yeah, I got a looping screen here. When did I cut out?
Like the eagle flies, I think. 49:22, maybe. Maybe he got cut out again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. I guess I'm having some connection issues. So I'll just start back at Jeremiah. Let's go back to 19 just to be safe.
I'd call the internet company and yell at whoever's in the office. Like, preferably the secretary.
She deserves it. The brunt
Yeah.
end of it all.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm going to look at something real quick. Can you confirm where I stopped reading or give me an idea while I do that?
Yeah, I think it was verse 22, somewhere
Okay.
about the eagle.
Gotcha. So bear with me here. If I drop my connection, I'll be. You still got me?
Yep.
All right. Jeremiah 49, verse 20. Therefore, hear the counsel of Yah, which he has counseled concerning Edom, and the purposes he has purposed concerning the inhabitants of Teman. The least of the flock shall drag them away. He shall make their pasture a waste before them. The earth shall be shaken at the noise of their fall. There is an outcry. Its noise is heard at the sea of reeds. See, like an eagle he flies up. See, like an eagle he flies up and spreads his wings over Batsra. And the heart of the mighty men of Edom in that day shall be like the heart of a woman in her pain. Jeremiah 49:23. Concerning Damascus, Hamath and Arpad have been put to shame, for they have heard an evil report. They have been melted in anxiety, like the sea, unable to rest. Damascus has become feeble. She has turned to flee, and trembling has taken hold of her. Distress and pain have seized her like a woman in labor. More Revelation references there. How is the city of praise deserted, the city of my joy? Therefore, her young men fall in her streets, and all the men of battle are cut off in that day, declares Yahuwah of hosts. And I shall kindle a fire in the wall of Damascus, and it shall consume the palaces of Ben-Hadad. Jeremiah 49:28. To Kedar, and to the reigns of Hatzor, which Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, struck. Thus said Yah, arise, go up to Kedar, and ravage the men of the east. Their tents and their flocks, their curtains and their vessels shall be taken, and they shall take away and they shall take away the camels for themselves, and they shall cry out to them, fear is on every side. Flee, go away, dwell in the depths, O inhabitants of Hatzor, declares Yah. For Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, has taken counsel against you, and has devised a plan against you. Arise, go up to the nation at ease, that dwells safely, declares Yah. It has no gates or bars, they dwell alone. And their camels shall become plunder, and their large herds booty, and I shall scatter them to all the winds. Those who cut off the corner and bring their calamity from all its sides, declares Yah. Hatzor shall be a habitation for jackals, a desert forever. No one dwells there, nor does the Son of Man sojourn in it. Jeremiah 49:34. The word of Yahuwah that came to Yirmiyahu the prophet concerning Elam in the beginning of the reign of Zidkiah, the sovereign of Yehuda, saying, Thus said Yah of hosts, see, I am breaking the bow of Elam, the chief of their might, And I shall bring upon Elam the four winds from the four quarters of the heavens, and scatter them toward all those winds. And there shall be no nation where the outcast of Elam do not go. And I shall break Elam before their enemies and before those who seek their life. And I shall bring evil upon them, my burning displeasure, declares Yah. And I shall send the sword after them until I have consumed them. And I shall set my throne in Elam, and destroy from there the sovereign and the heads, declares Yah. And it shall be in the latter days that I turn back the captivity of Elam, declares Yah. Man. I don't get this reference here. I wanted to come back to it and compare it and see if it's translated different elsewhere. Let's start off with non-Masoretic here in Britain. Oh, wait, that's a totally different verse, I think.
Yeah, it could be like a chapter off or something.
I think it is. Also, Edom, this is Sephir, shall be a desolation. Everyone that goes by it shall be astonished and shall hiss. Interesting. At the plagues thereof. Horrified, hiss, whistle, which seemed a bit weird.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you see, you know, the aftermath of like a crash or a building that burned down or something like that, you know, you're just like, woo, like, wow.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. That's how I take it anyway.
So like one of those whistles you blow for protection.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, you just kind of like whistle in astonishment, like,
Yeah,
wow,
I got it.
like how bad do you have to piss off the creator to have that happen to your city? You know,
kind of like oof.
Like no one will want to live there forever. That's how bad it got messed up. Like,
Exactly.
It's just the animals.
Like a woman in labor. Very interesting. I think it was at Revelation 9 that talks about that and the signs in the sky and all that goodness.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to quote that one for you. I'd almost guess like 7 or 6.
12. Yep.
There it is. Yeah, 12.
Yep. A great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. There's some pretty interesting studies. One being that this was actually in the stars, and and in the constellations, and you can see the constellation of the woman with the the sun around her, with the moon under her feet, and then you get the 12 stars of the crown on her head, and all that good stuff. If you haven't checked it out, I'll have to try to find it and post the link later. Remember what I'm talking about, Deezer? Did you check that out with me?
Yeah, I remember all that.
Oops. Do you have anything else on 48 and 49? Just lots more judgment.
Some fierce judgment, that's for sure. Quite a few chapters of it.
Talking about that lion coming to ravage. Get a sip here. Judgment on Babylon. Jeremiah chapter 50. The word that Yahuwah spoke concerning Babel, concerning the land of Kasdim, by Yirmiyahu the prophet. Declare among the nations, and let it be heard. Lift up a banner, let it be heard, and do not conceal it. Say, Babel shall be taken, Bel shall be put to shame, Merodach shall be broken, her images shall be put to shame, her idols shall be broken. For a nation shall come up against her from the north, which shall make her land waste, and none shall dwell in it. They shall flee, they shall go, both man and beast. And in those days and at that time, declares Yah, the children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Yehuda together, weeping as they come, and seek Yah, their Elohim. I'm just seeing greater exodus here. They shall ask the way to Zion, their faces toward it. Come and let us join ourselves to Yahuwah in an everlasting covenant, never to be forgotten. My people have been wandering sheep. Their shepherds have led them astray, turning them away on the mountains. They have gone far, or they have gone from the mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. Yeshua says, I come only for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So, Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 7. All who found them have devoured them, and their adversaries have said, we are not guilty, because they have sinned against against Yahuwah, the home of righteousness, and the expectation of their fathers, Yahuwah. Flee from the midst of Babel, come out of the land of Kasdim, and be as rams before a flock. For look, I am stirring up and bringing up against Babel an assembly of great nations from a land of the north, and they shall array themselves against her. From there she shall be captured. Their arrows are like those of a mighty skilled man, not returning empty-handed. Jeremiah 50, verse 10. And Chaldea shall become plunder. All who plunder her shall satisfy themselves, declares Yahuwah. Because you were glad, because you rejoiced, you who plunder my inheritance, because you have grown fat like a heifer threshing a grain, and you neigh like stallions. Your mother shall be greatly ashamed. She who bore you shall be humiliated. Look, the last of the nations, a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. Because of the wrath of Yah, she shall not be inhabited, but she shall be deserted, all of it. Everyone passing by Babel shall be astonished and whistle at all her plagues. That's some hot plagues. I'm sorry. Jeremiah 50, 14. Set yourselves in
I was
array.
not prepared for that.
Sorry. Set yourselves in array against Babel all around. All you who bend the bow, shoot at her. Spare no arrows, for she has sinned against Yah. Shout against her all around. She has given her hand. Her foundations have fallen. Her walls are thrown down. For it is the vengeance of Yah. Take vengeance on her, as she has done, so do to her. Cut off the sour from Babel, and him who handles the sickle at harvest time. From before the sword of the oppressor, each one turns to his own people, and each one flees to his own land. Yisrael is a scattered sheep. The lions have driven him away. First the sovereign of Asher devoured him, and now, at last, this Nebuchadnezzar sovereign of Babel has broken his bones. Jeremiah 50, 18. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, see, I am punishing the sovereign of Babel and his land, as I have punished the sovereign of Asher. And I shall bring back Yisrael to his pasture, and he shall feed on Carmel and Bashan, and his being shall be satisfied on Mount Ephraim and Gilead. See, In those days and at that time, declares Yah, the crookedness of Israel shall be searched, but there shall be none, and the sin of Yehuda, but none shall be found. For I shall pardon those whom I leave as a remnant. So it's not just one, it's not just Judah, but you also have Israel who's been scattered. They're going to be combined here, and under one staff, and that's the remnant. Verse 21. Go up against the land of Merathaim, against it, and against the inhabitants of Pekod. Slay and put them under the band, declares Yah, and do according to all that I commanded you. In case you don't know, when it says put them under the band, that means utterly destroy everything, everyone, from from the way I understand it.
Yep. Don't even loot their cities.
Exactly. Destroy everything, no loot. There is a sound of battle in the land and of great destruction. How the hammer of all the earth has been cut off and broken. How Babel has become a ruin among the nations. I have laid a snare for you, and you were captured, O Babel, and you yourself did not know. You have been found and also caught, because you strove against Yahuwah. Yahuwah has opened his armory and has brought out the weapons of his displeasure. For the master Elohim of hosts has a work to do in the land of the Kasdim. Come against her from every quarter, upon her storehouses. Pile her up as heaps of ruins, and put her under the band. Let her have no remnant. Jeremiah 50, verse 27. Slay all her bulls. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe to them, for their day has come, the time of their punishment. Listen. They flee and escape from the land of Babel to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yah, our Elohim, the vengeance of his Hekel. Summon archers against Babel, all you who bend the bow, and camp against it. All around, let no one escape. Repay her according to her work. Do to her according to all she has done, for she has been proud against Yah, against the set-apart one of Israel. Therefore, her young men shall fall in the streets, and all her men of battle shall perish in that day, declares Yahuwah. See, I am against you, O proud one, declares the Master Yahuwah of hosts, for your day has come, the time for your punishment. Verse 32. And the proud shall stumble, and he shall fall, with no one to raise him up. And I shall kindle the fire in his cities, and it shall devour all around him. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the children of Israel were oppressed, along with the children of Yehuda. All those who took them captive have held them fast. They refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. He shall strongly plead their case, so as to give rest to the land, but unrest to the inhabitants of Babel. A sword is to the Kasdim, declares Yahuwah, and it is upon the inhabitants of Babel, and upon her heads, and upon her wise men. A sword is upon the liars, and they shall be fools. A sword is upon her mighty men, and they shall be broken down. A sword is upon their horses, and upon their chariots, and upon all the mixed peoples who are in her midst, and they shall become like women. A sword is upon her treasures, and they shall be plundered. Jeremiah 50:38. A sword is upon her waters, they shall be dried up, for it is a land of carved images, and they boast about their idols. Therefore the wild desert beasts shall dwell with the jackals, and the ostriches dwell in it, and it shall never again be inhabited, nor dwelt in, unto all generations. As Elohim overthrew Sodom and Amorah, and their neighboring cities, declares Yah. So no one would dwell there, nor would Son of Man sojourn in it. See, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation and many sovereigns stirred up from the ends of the earth. They strengthen their bow and spear. They are cruel, and they show no compassion. They sound like the roaring sea, and ride on horses, set in array, like a man for the battle, against you, O daughter of Babel. The sovereign of Babel has heard the report about them, and his hands became weak. Distress has taken hold of him, pain like that of a woman in labor. See, he comes up like a lion from the yard and jungle against the enduring pasture, but in an instant I shall make them run away from her. And who is the chosen one whom I appoint against her? For who is like me? Who summons me? And who is that shepherd who stands before me? Therefore, hear the counsel of Yah, which he has counseled concerning Babel, and his purposes he has purposed concerning the land of Casdim. The least of the flock shall drag them away. He shall make their pasture a waste before them. At the sound of Babel's capture, the earth shall be shaken, and the outcry shall be heard among the nations. Wow.
Yeah.
He's got some serious problem with Babel here. And just playing out a theory here that I've heard, and I don't know where I am on what exactly Babel is, but some, say that it's United States. If that's the case, and that's the only Babel, and it's not more of a people or an idea, then this land in the north would have to be, Canada or, over the Bering Strait, if you will, or something to that effect. I don't know. It just gets me wondering about Babel more and who these people are specifically from the north and how that looks prophetically, I guess is where my mind goes here. If anybody wants to explain all that to me, I'm all ears.
Faux show.
Do you have any ideas on Babel or any thoughts or heard other people's opinions you want to share? No biggie.
No, I guess there's still the Middle East. I guess is probably like no one actually like if you look in like the old borders of Babylon, they have built like a visitor center there or like a I don't know what else to call it, I guess, but no one lives
No one
inside the
inhabits
old
it. Yeah.
borders of Babylon.
Okay.
Like you can go on Google Earth today and look at it and like see the borders and there is like one new building, but like I said, it's a visitor center, so like people are there during the day, but no one like lives there. But there is stuff built like all around it. And then Saddam Hussein was the one that tried to go in and rebuild Babylon, I think, or one of those guys that we had to go over there and fight.
Do you think it'll be rebuilt before before things can play out prophetically, or do you think this isn't necessarily speaking of anything in the future, which kind of contradicts everything else?
No, I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
I'm just saying like, it definitely like the first part got fulfilled, like Babylon is definitely destroyed. But obviously it's still there, we can see it. And then I think it says in Revelation, it says, like all the nations were drunk on her wine or something like that.
Okay.
And the Middle East produces a lot of oil, and the whole world runs on oil. So
I like that.
I always found that pretty interesting. That's pretty much what all the wars are about, I guess. Resources.
Never heard that.
So yeah, I don't know. It could just be the same place, or it could just be a spiritual thing. I don't know. We'll find out one of these days.
Yep. You just got me thinking while I was reading it.
When your
more
father
about-
gets home, we'll figure it out.
Yikes. I don't know if I want to wait that long.
Uh,
Hopefully have a bit of an idea it's about to happen. Hopefully. Just a
yeah,
couple
I gotta say, with only one of the 7 churches promised to be withheld from the tribulation, I don't have high hopes that I'm gonna miss out on it.
Yeah, I'm
I,
still pretty rough.
I think there's a good shot I'll be there.
If that's the case, man, exiting and lifting a banner along the way and possible tribulation and martyrdom and who knows. It's exciting, scary, but exciting. Okay, more destruction and judgment. Jeremiah chapter 51. Thus said Yahuwah, see, I am stirring up the spirit of a destroyer against Babel, against those who dwell in Leb, my opponents. And I shall send winnowers to Babel, who shall winnow her and empty her land, for they shall be against her all around in the day of evil. Let the archer draw his bow, and let him stand ready in his armor. Do not spare her young men. Put all her army under the ban. And the slain shall fall in the land of the Kasdim, and the pierced through in her streets. For neither Yisrael nor Yehuda is widowed by his Elohim, Yahuwah of hosts, though their land has been filled with sin against the set-apart one of Yisrael. Flee from the midst of Babel, and let each one save his life. Do not be cut off in her crookedness, for this is the time of vengeance of Yahuwah. The recompense he is repaying her, a recompense he is repaying her. Babel was a golden cup in the hand of Yah, making drunk all the earth. The nations drank her wine. That is why the nations went mad. Babel shall suddenly fall and be broken. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she might be healed. We would have healed Babel, but she is not healed. Let us leave her, and each go to his own land, for her judgment reaches to the heavens and is lifted up to the clouds. 51:10. Yahuwah has brought forth our righteousness. Come and let us relate in Zion the work of Yah, our Elohim. Polish the arrows, put on the shields. Yahuwah has stirred up the spirit of the sovereigns of the Medes, for his plan is against Babel to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yah, the vengeance for his heckle. Lift up a banner on the walls of Babel. Strengthen the watch. Station the watchman. Prepare the ambush. For Yah has both planned and done what he spoke concerning the inhabitants of Babel. You, who dwell upon many waters, great in treasures, your end has come, the measure of your greedy gain. 51:14. Yahuwah of hosts has sworn by himself, I shall certainly fill you with men, as with locust, and they shall lift up a shout against you. He made the earth by his power. He established the word by his wisdom, and stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he gives forth his voice, the waters in the heavens roar, and he makes vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings for the rain, and he brings the wind out of his treasuries. All mankind has become true brutish to know. Every smith has been put to shame by the carved image, for his molded image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are worthless, a work of mockery. In the time of their punishment, they perish. 51:19. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the maker of all, and Yisrael is the tribe of his inheritance. Yahuwah of hosts is his name. You are my battle axe, weapons of battle, and with you I shall break nations in pieces, and with you I shall destroy reigns, and with you I shall break in pieces the horse and its rider, and with you I shall break in pieces the chariot and its rider, and with you I shall break in pieces man and woman, and with you I shall break in pieces old and young, and with you I shall break in pieces the young man and the maiden, and with you I shall break in pieces the shepherd and his flock, and with you I shall break in pieces the farmer and his yoke of oxen, and with you I shall break in pieces governors and rulers. Jeremiah 51:24. And I shall repay Babel and all the inhabitants of Chaldea for all the evil they have done in Zion before your eyes, declares Yahuwah. See, I am against you, O destroying mountain, who destroys all the earth, declares Yahuwah. And I shall stretch out my hand against you, and I shall roll you down from the rocks, and make you a burnt mountain. And they shall not take from you a stone for a corner, nor a stone for a foundation, but you shall be a waste forever, declares Yahuwah. Lift up a banner in the land, blow a shofar among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call the reigns together against her, Ararat, Minni, and Ashkenaz, appoint a commander against her, bring up horses like hairy locust. Jeremiah 51:28. Separate the nations against her, with the sovereigns of the Medes, its governors, and all its rulers, all the land of his rule, so that the land shakes and writhes in pain. For every plan of Yah shall be established against Babel, to make the land of Babel a ruin, without inhabitant. The mighty men of Babel have ceased to fight. They remained in their strongholds. Their might has failed. They became like women. They have burned her dwelling places. The bars of her gate have been broken. One runner runs to meet another, and one reporter to meet another, to report to the sovereign of Babel that his city is taken on all sides, and the fords have been captured, and they have burned the reeds with fire, and the soldiers are startled. Jeremiah 51:33. For thus said Yahuwah of hosts, when Dad gets home, the Elohim of Yisrael, the daughter of Babel is like a threshing floor at the time it is trodden. Yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, has devoured us. He has crushed us. He has made us an empty vessel. He has swallowed us up like a monster. He has filled his stomach with my delicacies. He has driven us away. Let the violence done to me in my flesh be upon Babel, says the inhabitant of Zion, and let my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea, says Jerusalem. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah, see, I am pleading your case, and I shall take vengeance for you, and dry up her sea, and make her fountain dry. 51:37. And Babel shall become a heap, a habitation of jackals, an astonishment and a hissing without inhabitant. Together they roar like lions, they shall growl like lions' cubs. In their heat I prepare their feast, and I shall make them drunk so that they rejoice, and sleep a never-ending sleep, and not wake, declares Yahuwah. I shall bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with male goats. Oh, how Sheshach has been captured. The praise of all the earth has been seized. How Babel has become a ruin among the nations. 51:42. The sea has risen over Babel. She has been covered with the roaring of its waves. Her cities have become a ruin, a dry land, and a desert, a land where no one dwells, neither does Son of Man pass by it. And I shall punish Bel and Babel, and I shall make him spew out what he has swallowed, and nations shall no longer stream to him. Even the wall of Babel shall fall. Come out of her midst, my people, and let everyone deliver his being from the burning displeasure of Yahuwah. This references Revelation 18 here. And lest your heart grow faint, and you fear the report heard in the land. For a report shall come 1 year, and after that, in another year, a report shall come, and violence in the land, ruler against ruler. 51:47. Therefore, when Dad gets home, the days are coming that I shall bring punishment on the carved images of Babel, and all her land shall be put to shame, and all her slain fall in her midst. And the heavens and the earth and all that is in them shall shout for joy over Babel, for the ravagers shall come to her from the north, declares Yahuwah. As Babel is to fall for the slain of Yisrael, so for Babel the slain of all the earth shall fall. You who have escaped the sword, go away, do not stand still. Remember Yahuwah from afar, and let Jerusalem come to your heart. We are shamed because we have heard reproach. Shame has covered our faces, for strangers have come into the set apart places of the houses of Yahuwah. 51:52. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yahuwah, that I bring punishment on her carved images, while the wounded groan throughout all her land. Though Babel should mount up to the heavens, and though she should make the height of her strength inaccessible, ravagers shall come to her from me, declares Yah. Listen, a cry from Babel, and great destruction from the land of the Kasdim, because Yahuwah is ravaging Babel, and shall silence her loud voice, and her waves shall roar like great waters. The noise of her voice shall resound, because the ravager shall come against her, against Babel, and her mighty men shall be captured. Every one of their bows shall be broken, for Yahuwah is the El of recompense. I say that wrong every time. He shall certainly repay. And I shall make her rulers drunk, and her wise men, her governors, and her deputies, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a lasting sleep, and not awake, declares the sovereign, whose name is Yahuwah of hosts. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the broad walls of Babel are completely demolished, and her high gates are burned with fire, and peoples labor in vain, and the nations weary themselves for fire. The word that Yirmiyahu the prophet commanded Sariah, son of Neriah, son of Messiah, yes, when he went to Zidkiyahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, to Babel in the 4th year of his reign, and Sariah was a quartermaster. So Yirmiyahu wrote in a book all the evil that would come upon Babel, all these words which have been written according to Babel. 51:61. And Yirmiyahu said to Sariah, when you come to Babel and see it and read all these words, then you shall say, O Yahuwah, you have spoken concerning this place to cut it off, so that no one shall dwell in it, neither man nor beast, for it is a ruin forever. And it shall be, when you have ended reading this book, that you shall tie a stone to it and throw it in the midst of the Euphrates, and shall say, so does Babel sink and not rise from the evil that I am bringing upon her, and they shall weary themselves. Thus far are the words of Yirmiyahu. Does that conclude it? Is that it? Nope. We got one more. I thought there was 52. I'm going to have to give my voice a break a second.
Yeah, those short chapters, I guess they were making up for the long ones to come.
Right. Utterly destroyed. Babel was a golden cup in the hand of Yah, making drunk all the earth. The nations drank her wine. That is why the nations went mad. And they're referring to Revelation 17 here. You can't see it on the screen share, but about the 7 bowls. Interesting. It refers back to Jeremiah here. I'm just going to actually select it. Revelation 17:1. And one of the 7 messengers who had the 7 bowls came and spoke with me, saying to me, "Come, I shall show you the judgment of the great whore sitting on many waters, with whom the sovereigns of the earth committed whoring, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her whoring." Never made that connection before, but I've never read Jeremiah before, so. You have anything out of 51, Deezer?
No, I think that was it. It was the drinking Babylon's wine and the Revelation thing.
Yep. Kind of clicked when I read it.
Definitely a lot of Revelation stuff sounding in these last couple of chapters of Jeremiah.
Definitely. All right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and let's do, I believe, the very last chapter before we get into Lamentations. Yep. Fall of Jerusalem recounted. This looks like a pretty short one too here. Uh-oh. Little teaser there. Jeremiah 52, verse 1. Zidkiyahu was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Yirmiyahu of Libnah. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For through the displeasure of Yahuwah, this came to be against Jerusalem and Yehudah, until he had cast them out of his presence. And Zidkiyahu rebelled against the sovereign of Babel. And it came to be in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th new moon, on the 10th of the new moon. I'm going to start over there in verse 4. And it came to be in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th new moon, on the 10th of the new moon, that Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and all his army came against Jerusalem and encamped against it. They built a siege wall against it all around, and the city was under siege until the 11th year of sovereign Zidkiyahu. And on the 9th of the 4th new moon, the scarcity of food was so severe in the city that there was no food for the people of the land. Then the city wall was breached, and all the men of battle fled and went out of the city at night by way of the gate between the 2 walls, which was by the sovereign's garden, while the Kasdim were near the city all around. And they went by way of the desert plain. But the army of the Kasdim pursued the sovereign, and they overtook Zidkiyahu in the desert plains of Jericho, and his entire army was scattered from him. 52:9. Then they captured the sovereign and brought him up to the sovereign of Babel at Riblah in the land of Hamath, and he pronounced judgments on them. And the sovereign of Babel slew the sons of Zidkiyahu before his eyes, and he also slew all the heads of Yehudah in Riblah. And he put out the eyes of Zidkiyahu, and the sovereign of Babel bound him in bronze shackles, and took him to Babel, and put him in prison till the days of his death. 52:12. And on the 10th of the 5th new moon, which was the 19th year of the sovereign Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, who served the sovereign of Babel, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of Yah, and the sovereign's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and all the houses of the great men he burned with fire. And all the army of the Kasdim who were with the chief of the guard broke down all the walls of Jerusalem all around. And Nebuzaradan, the chief of the guard, exiled some of the poor people and the rest of the people who were left in the city, and the defectors who had gone over to the sovereign of Babel, and the rest of the craftsmen. 52:16. But Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, left some of the poor of the land as vine dressers and farmers. And the Kasdim broke the bronze columns that were in the house of Yah, and the stands, and the bronze sea that were in the stands and the bronze sea that were in the house of Yah, and brought all their bronze to Babel. They also took away the pots and the shovels and the snuffers and all the bowls and all the ladles and all the bronze utensils which they served, and the basins and the fire holders and the bowls and the pots and the lampstands and the ladles and the cups, whatever was of solid gold and whatever was of solid silver, the chief of the guard took. 52:20. The two columns, one sea, 12 bronze bulls which were under it, and the stands, which sovereign Shaloma had made for the house of Yah. The bronze of all these vessels was beyond weighing. As for the columns, the height of one column was 18 cubits, and its circumference was 12 cubits, and its thickness was 4 fingers hollow. And a capital of bronze was on it, and the height of one capital was 5 cubits, with the network and pomegranates all around it, the capital all of bronze. And the second column with pomegranates was the same. And there were 96 pomegranates on the sides. All the pomegranates on the network were 100 all around. 52:24. And the chief of the guard took Sariah, the chief priest, and Zephaniah, the second priest, and the 3 doorkeepers. And from the city he took one eunuch who was in charge of the men of the battle, and 7 men who saw the sovereign's face, who were found in the city, and the scribe of the commander of the army, who mustered the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land, who were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, took these and brought them to the sovereign of Babel at Riblah. And the sovereign of Babel struck them and put them to death at Riblah in the land of Hamath. Thus Yehuda was exiled from its own land. 52:28. These are the people whom Nebuchadnezzar exiled in the 7th year, 3,023 Yehudim. In the 18th year of Nebuchadnezzar, he exiled from Jerusalem 832 beings. In the 23rd year of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, exiled of the Yehudim 745 beings. All the beings were 4,600. And it came to be in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 12th new moon, on the 25th of the new moon, that evil Merodach, sovereign of Babel, in the 1st year of his reign, lifted up the head of Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehudim, and brought him out of prison, and spoke kindly to him, and set his throne above those of the sovereigns who were with him in Babel. So he changed his prison garments, and he ate bread continually before the sovereign all the days of his life. And as for his allowance, there was a continual allowance given to him by the sovereign of Babel, a portion each day until the day of his death, all the days of his life. And that concludes Jeremiah, guys.
Man, well done.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fun journey. See a similar tale, a painting of the past and a painting of what's to come. There's still a little bit of a silver lining here through all the destruction. There's still some restoration of God's people, Ephraim and Judah. Man, wasn't he decades there imprisoned?
Jeremiah?
Jehoiakim or whatever. I forget how to say his name there. What is it? Jehoiakim?
Oh, gotcha.
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I'd have to do the math on that. There was one guy that was imprisoned until he died, right?
Yes.
And then this is a different guy.
Yes. Because it talks about, I think it did a count up of the years, like 30 some years. Maybe I was reading that wrong. That's how I come up with decades. But
I was trying to listen, but my daughter came in and was talking to me.
nope, all is well. Spent all this time in prison, exiled. Moses also spent 40 years leading Israel from slavery in Egypt to the promised land. But I guess Jeremiah's 40 years saw Israel exiled, but Jeremiah, himself ultimately in exile.
Right. I think it's interesting that they didn't listen to the prophet, and so the temple and the priests get killed.
Mm-hmm.
In Jesus' time, they didn't listen to the prophet, and so the temple gets destroyed and the priests get killed. So, yeah, it's just repeating over and over again.
And it's being prophesied then through Jeremiah and again for us today, and it's consequences of just being disobedient, and there's nothing you can do to stop it besides flee to the hills when it happens. Just wow. Oh, thanks, Miss Sherry. I just read your comment. Yeah. I think we should be on guard, because if it speaks of what was and what is to come, there's going to be lamentations, and I think maybe we should be emphasizing or putting urgency on repentance and restoration of God's people. Is now the time for us to be holding out that banner and declaring it in Babylon? Maybe so, and I guess the question is, if that's the case, how do we do that? I don't know that either exactly, but I think if you pray about it, God will show us. And I think it's important to keep the love in it when we do it too, as we go out and minister to the people. It's easy to pull out the Bible and throw it at others and say, see, do this. But, I think when we call these people back, we shouldn't just be throwing the book at them, but showing them some loving kindness and those, virtues. Anyways, that's enough of Dustin rambling on.
Yeah. It is interesting that the judgment is for the whole nation. And, somebody listened to Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
But, the judgment came on the whole nation. So, yeah, how do you, as an individual, talk to your neighbors and convince them to listen to the crazy guy that's locked up in the stockades? Like,
Good perspective.
It's definitely a community building exercise. That's for sure.
We've got to practice that and continually practice conflict resolve with loving kindness and patience. And every day should be a test, and I think we should be refining ourselves each and every day. We're gonna be refined either way. We can start doing it ourselves and make what's to come a little easier, or we can just sit back and maybe just get utterly destroyed. I don't know, but I think it puts that cross on our backs a bit too. We've got some work to do. It's not just something that Jesus takes care of for us, and just did away with at the cross. No, we've got to work hard and refine ourselves and keep pressing ourselves. And with that pressing comes a lot of heat and a lot of tribulation. So keep pressing, peeps. Keep pressing.
Yep, definitely get that oil now. Don't want to be one of those without oil when the time comes.
Amen. Well, I don't think I have anything more to say. I think that's a good conclusion. I think it's been a really good time doing Jeremiah with you guys. So unless you've got more or anybody in chat's got anything to say, I'm going to end us out with a prayer. Get a couple of seconds here as I...
Yeah, that sounds good to me, man. It has been a good study.
Father Abba, thank you for this study, for this journey, for everything that you've done for us. We pray that you keep refining us and pressing us and show us how we can serve you. Give us opportunities to minister to others. Help us with our patience. Help us with our love and our attitudes. Help us always in searching for you and what you want done and your will in our lives. And all these things we pray in Yeshua's name. Amen. Y'all bless everyone.